Let's take a look at strengths-based leadership. Every one of us has an identifiable leadership strength, areas where we excel and thrive. But we often fail to recognize these strengths. As a result, many times our strengths are used ineffectively or not at all. The challenge we face as leaders is to identify our own strengths as well as the strengths of others, and then use them to make our organizations and followers more efficient, productive, and satisfied. Identifying individual strengths is a unique challenge because people often feel hesitant to acknowledge positive aspects of themselves. In the American culture, expressing positive self-attributes is often seen as boastful and self-serving. In fact, focusing on self is disdained in many cultures, while showing humility and being self-deprecating is seen as virtuous. Our goal here is to explore how understanding strengths can make one a better leader. We'll explain the concept by defining strengths and describing the historical background of strengths-based leadership. Leaders need to look at the concept of strengths-based leadership in practice, including strategies to use strengths to become more effective. Strength is an attribute or quality of an individual that accounts for successful performance. It is the characteristic or series of characteristics we demonstrate when our performance is at its best. Strengths researchers suggest that strengths are the ability to consistently demonstrate exceptional work. Others define strengths as a pre-existing capacity that is authentic and energizing and enables peak performance. A strength is an applied trait. Traits are characteristics of people that are often inherited. In the case of strengths, these traits are being engaged at their highest level. For example, sociability is considered a leadership trait, but for someone who's very good at establishing and maintaining social relationships, someone we might call a people person, that trait is a strength. A strength is also different from a skill. Skills are learned competencies. Everyone can be taught skills. Strengths are expressions of a pre-existing capacity and are unique to each person. A skill can become a strength, however. For example, a person can learn time management and organization, and with application and practice, that allows him or her to become very good at this skill, which can become a strength. Simply put, strengths are positive features of ourselves that make us effective and help us flourish. Studying leadership from the perspective of strengths is a new area of study, which came to the forefront in the late 1990s as a result of two overlapping research developments. First, researchers at Gallup initiated a massive study that included interviews of over 2 million people to describe what's right with people, that is, their talents and what they're good at, rather than what's wrong with them. Second, academic research scholars began to question the exclusive focus in psychology on the disease model of human problems and started to study mentally and physically healthy people and what accounted for their well-being. From this work, a new field called positive psychology emerged. Each of these two developments helped to explain the rising popularity of strengths-based leadership. Best known as a public opinion research organization that conducts political polling, Gallup also conducts research in other areas of social science. For nearly 40 years, the study of strengths has been a major focus at Gallup. This work was spearheaded by the late Donald O. Clifton, under whose leadership millions of people were interviewed regarding their performance and human strength. Based on this interview data, Gallup researchers designed and published the StrengthsFinder profile, an online assessment of people's talents and potential strengths, now known as Clifton Strengths. This assessment is one of the most widely used self-assessment questionnaires in the world and has been completed by more than 20 million people to date. Organizations use the assessment to help employees become more engaged and improve their performance. At the same time Gallup's Clifton Strengths profile was growing in popularity, a major change was occurring in the discipline of psychology. Researchers were challenging the discipline to expand its focus not only on what's wrong with people and their weaknesses, but also what's right with people and their positive attributes. Rather than study the frailties and flaws of individuals, known as the disease model, positive psychology focuses on individual strengths and the factors that allow them to thrive. Concepts and theories from the field of positive psychology directly relate to learning how strengths-based leadership works. Most of the research on strengths has been done by scholars connected with Gallup and scholars studying positive psychology. This body of research has produced multiple ways of identifying strengths and a wide-ranging list of individual strengths. Collectively, this research provides an extensive list of specific strengths, a clear picture of how strengths can be measured, and an expansive view of how strengths can be used to understand human behavior. Gallup researchers interviewed an enormous number of professionals to identify the qualities of high performers and extricated 34 patterns or themes that they thought did the best job at explaining excellent performance. These 34 items are the most common themes that emerge from a study of human talent. For the last decade, these themes have been the benchmark for discussing strengths in the workplace. It's important to point out that Gallup researchers identified themes of human talent, not strengths. Talents are similar to personality traits. They're relatively stable, fixed characteristics that are not easily changed. From talents, strengths emerge. The equation for developing a strength is talent times investment. Strengths are derived from having certain talents and then further developing those talents by gaining additional knowledge, skills, and practice. How are strengths measured in the form of the Gallup perspective? Well, Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment is a 177-item questionnaire that identifies the areas where you have the greatest potential to develop strength. After taking this questionnaire, you receive a list of your strongest talents. You can build on these talents, furthering your personal growth and development. To facilitate understanding, they developed a configuration that depicts 4 domains of leadership strengths: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. Taken together, the 4 domains represent the 4 kinds of strengths that help create successful teams. Effective teams possess broad groupings of strengths and work best when all 4 domains of leadership strengths are represented in their team. Effective teams are generally well-rounded, and they have different group members who fulfill different needs of the group. Leaders bring unique strengths to the team, but leaders do not have to demonstrate strengths in all 4 domains. Strong and cohesive teams bring into play everyone's strengths to make the team effective. There are several specific ways to incorporate strengths in your personal and work setting. Although there are no established leadership theories on how to practice leadership from a strengths perspective, many useful applications can be made from strengths research in everyday leadership situations. Here are a few steps to take when incorporating strengths into your everyday leadership. Start by discovering your strengths, then invest in developing strengths while addressing your weaknesses. Then, recognize and engage strengths of others in everything you do from a leadership perspective. Finally, make sure to foster a strengths-based environment in every approach, focusing on what's right with people. Though these won't make you the perfect strengths-based leader, they most certainly will help you to maximize the use of your strengths as well as those of others. Strengths emerge from our basic personality traits. We all have unique personality traits, and therefore we all have unique strengths. No one is without strengths. The challenge we face is identifying our strengths and then employing them effectively in our leadership and personal lives. Discovering your strengths requires you to concentrate on your positive attributes in those times you feel inspired. To do so, you need to pay attention to your successes rather than focusing on your weaknesses or failures. There are several ways you can discover your strengths. First, you can complete one or more of the strengths questionnaires that are available online. Each questionnaire gives a unique snapshot of your greatest strengths and will allow you to painlessly develop a definitive list of your major strengths. This process is not only enlightening, but also a vital first step in developing strengths-based leadership. Once you've discovered your strengths, what do you do with that knowledge? How do you make use of this information to be a stronger leader? Developing one's strengths is a multifaceted process that involves several steps. First, you must acknowledge your strengths and be prepared to reveal them to others. It is often difficult to share our strengths with others because we may feel inhibited about openly acknowledging positive aspects of ourselves. But expressing our strengths is essential to making others aware of our leadership. Telling others about our strengths is important because it lets them know how we can be most useful when working or collaborating together, clarifying the unique contributions we can make to others and their work. In essence, disclosing strengths declares, this is what I bring to the table, this is what I'm best at, this is what I can do for you, and it allows others to know what they can expect from us. People use a variety of ways to reveal their strengths. Some people post their top 5 strengths on Facebook or LinkedIn, add them to their email signature, or list them on their resume to make their strengths more visible to others. In addition to revealing your strengths, practice working consistently with others based on your strengths. Leaders must not only recognize and capitalize on their strengths, but also be able to identify their weaknesses and address them. Understanding your weaknesses can allow you to work to improve them and to recognize situations where your weaknesses can be a liability to your leadership. While making the most of our strengths is important for leaders, recognizing our weaknesses is also important in effective leadership. Working to improve your weaknesses or using them as opportunities for others to contribute their strengths will improve your leadership.